So welcome to the Appy Hour. I'm Liz, and you've got Heather here with us. And today we're going to be talking about automating your workflow for your firm processes with Aero. And we also have our Right Network sponsor that we're going to be sharing some more details about. So a little bit about myself. I'm Liz Scott. Like many of you, I'm a practitioner who has a firm in Oklahoma. We help small businesses with their QuickBooks needs. So we do a lot of monthly support. We help them understand where did my money go is like the biggest conversation, and creating budgets moving forward and doing a lot of integrations with apps. And then Heather, you want to share a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I actually have two companies. I have Satterley Trading and Consulting, which, like you, Liz, I work very closely with accounting professionals and their clients and small businesses to help them find and implement the right technology for their business to automate their processes. And then I also have a brand new bookkeeping and tax firm called Back Office Ally, where I'm helping small businesses to get a handle on their bookkeeping so that they can grow their businesses and have the right information to make the right decisions and go in the right direction to achieve their goals. So that's been really exciting. I've been working very closely with my partner over the last over the last 6 months or so, really documenting our own internal processes and making the decisions that need to be made to make sure that as we grow and we scale, that that everything's documented, everything's as standardized as possible, knowing that every client, of course, is a little bit different, so that it's easy to onboard the team as we, get more clients.
I want to say thank you to our champagne level sponsors. So a little toast there. Many of us are already aware of Right Networks and are using them for our QuickBooks desktop hosting. And so that's a name that we're very familiar with. And as the months go on, we are going to be talking about some of their other products that some of us know and use, like Transaction Pro. And then we're also going to be talking about some of their other products that we may not be as aware of, like Audify. Yeah. So that's kind of an app-to-app connection. We are also thankful to have Laura Redmond here with us today from Aero Workflow. Workflow designed for accountants by accountants. Make your firm efficient, scalable, and profitable with firm management software. QuickBooks Online integrated email priced for small firms, recurring tasks, amenities at 100+ built-in templates, customized KPI reports, and free support. Thank you, Laura, for being here with us. Laura Redmond, you want to tell a little bit about yourself?
I founded Redmond Accounting in 2005, so this is our 15th year coming up in April. That marks 15 years for us. And we had clients on NetSuite, Peachtree, QuickBooks, and by about 2010, we were like, okay, it's hard for us to be specialists at everything and really bring that value. So we went just to QuickBooks. By 2011, we pushed everybody to QuickBooks Online. So we've been using QuickBooks Online and Bill.com, Expensify, and some of these apps in the ecosystem for almost a decade now. And so through that process of being just early to an all cloud, all SaaS foundation, we, in the meantime, wrote and worked on and teach the QuickBooks Online certification for Intuit. I do that with both of you guys. So Heather and I met actually writing the advanced cert. And then in 2010, we created Aero. We had been using Excel spreadsheet to track every row was a different, service that we had promised some client we were going to do, and we were trying to check off what was done. Can we go home for the day? That kind of stuff. So Aero was born. It was first created on Method. I'm not a hard code developer, but I was a Method developer, so I created it first in Method, and then we birthed a whole new company. So Aero Workflow is a separate entity, separate company from Redmond Accounting, and that now has a whole dev team that writes it. I don't know how to do that kind of coding anymore. So yeah.
So let's just go ahead and start the conversation about that internal workflow for our firm processes. And what exactly that means is that we've got to be able to understand what we're doing before we can automate any of it.
Of course. Yeah. And that's a big piece that I think that some of us struggle with is that we hear about all this great technology and these great solutions for different workflows without stepping back and looking at our entire system, right? Our entire firm system, and kind of what are we doing now? What are the needs that we have for internal processes, client processes, and then kind of thinking about how do all of these moving pieces kind of fit together to form an overall system for the whole organization. And I think that's hard to do, especially when you're just starting out and you're a smaller firm. You
So
kind of
true.
are doing the Band-Aid approach, right? Of just kind of piecing together the technology that you just started using when you started your company. So
Okay, this is going to make your brain hurt then, Heather. You said piecing it together. Here it
Yeah.
is.
Hey.
That's exactly right.
Here it all is. So, I started throwing together, okay, here's some different pieces of a hodgepodge. Oh, and there's pricing that's important. Oh, and there's an engagement letter. Oh, and I really want to have e-signature. So let's just throw it all in. And you can't have a workflow until you start putting it all out there. So that whole thing starts making you say, okay, well, we definitely want our firm to run better, but oh my gosh, look at all of these disjointed pieces.
I just found myself taking a natural deep breath at that, though, because there's something about getting it out and starting to work on the puzzle of how you want it to flow that is very helpful, clarifying.
So when you start going, all right, so I have CRM needs and I have workflow needs, where does it all fit, Liz? And this is where you start going, okay, so my prospects, that's the CRM piece, and the lead capture and all the different things that are associated with it. And then I need to be able to have my communication tools. So this is down here where sometimes people are using Slack. Sometimes they're using some type of other way of talking back and forth, emails or whatever. And then you've got your workflow needs. And so you've got some type of way of storing those documents. So this is just kind of an example of mapping it all out. But you got to have all your pieces out in front of you. And this is what I'll show you. This is what
cool.
I've got right here. And this is where I started out and I just said, all right, this is my firm needs. Here's my team needs for communication. I want them to be able to talk to each other on a mobile device. My team needs, my client needs to be able to talk. And then I've got my CRM needs. Here's all the different things I want to be able to do. Here's the stuff that would be nice to be able to have. And see how my share folder needs, it's separate. And then here's all my workflow needs. And so this is one way to be able to say, all right, here's all of the different needs that I have. And then Laura, of course, took it to the next level. And she broke it down even further and said, okay, but there's so much more. There's also branding needs and marketing needs and sales needs. And so
Which you're popping out under your CRM. That's great. Yeah.
I love this. I mean, and what's neat is I would imagine, Laura, that you've got arrows for each one of these.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, isn't that like, instead of where we started in the very beginning with this hodgepodge of tiles and thoughts, now you've got a workflow that this is how we do things here.
Seems to flow. Yes. So we identify marketing as, you're getting your name out there. It's like a 1-to-many ratio. You're just kind of like shouting out to the world, hey, we're this accounting firm. This is what we do, clarifying who you are. Email marketing campaigns, advertising, social media, however you do it. Make a commercial on TV, whatever you're doing. And then when someone sees your ad or finds you and comes knocking at your door, now you've got someone's name. They've emailed you, they've clicked your Calendly and set an appointment with you, whatever it is. Now you have a 1-to-1 ratio, and we call that sales. Now you're working on making sure that you're a right fit for each other, and then moving into the quote proposal process, engagement letter. So that's kind of all under the sales. And yeah, we do have arrows I have arrows that tell me to go, every week post my blog and, do things like that have to do with marketing. I have arrows that remind me to do regular things that have to do with sales. For example, every time someone gets to our website and schedules a consultation, it takes them to Calendly, And this is all sort of embedded on our website. So, we we don't want to confuse people with going to all these other places. So it doesn't necessarily feel like it's going to other places, but we use Calendly to then let them be able to book time with us. And when they book, that automatically sends me an arrow that I have a scheduled appointment with someone. So when that day comes, I'm clicking the arrow. So it's recording the fact that that happens. And so we use Aero as the full brain for everything, even our CRM and sales and marketing workflows. And then we get into onboarding. Yeah. So and then we have I don't want to jump ahead. Sorry, I don't know when we'll get, but I'll just throw out there, we've got a zap as soon as someone accepts a proposal and practice ignition, it automatically zaps them. And several things, but one of them being that an arrow is created. That is the arrow that is our multi-step phase 1 onboarding process. And so you come in the next morning and somebody signed your proposal and you've already got the arrow sitting there waiting to remind you what things you have to do now and get moving on onboarding that client. Because you just promised everything to them. Now you got to
you got to do it.
Show up.
You got to show up.
Well, and I think that everybody's seeing this, but what's cool is we have Aero and Zapier integrations now.
Yep.
Right.
So that's really cool.
New is Zapier. We launched Zapier a couple of years ago, and then we updated the Zapier integration now so that you can have a Zap create a particular checklist from your templates. So like I just said, when someone signs practice ignition, I don't just get an arrow that says somebody signed in practice ignition, go onboard them. It gives me the exact templated checklist that I told it to in Zapier.
That's awesome. So I think we're just going to go ahead and say, we're going to take people through the whole Aero. This is how we do things here. Mm-hmm. So we want to say it's time to raise a drink toast and to our drink that's called the Aeroplane. And we have Sarah to thank for this.
We do.
Yeah, I love this drink name.
It's a pretty drink right
there. It's delicious too.
It is.
Umbrella.
So, yep. So just to recap that we are very, very happy, Laura, that you're here, and we love it. Anytime that we have an accountant who then develops an app, we always feel like, oh my gosh, that you understand everything that we need. So it just
I saw a lot of that. As we were saying at the start of the hour, I'm just coming back from AICPA Executive Roundtable in New York City last week, and we saw several apps that are being created by accounting firms. And then also hearing from some of the small and large firms in the country who have innovation departments that are creating apps or whatever technology they need if it's not available yet.
Right.
So
what would you like me to do, Laura? Do you want me to pass presenter to you so you can demo?
Yeah, I'll just share a screen. Yeah, that's great. I'll just share a screen and let's see.
Oh, Alicia said that your workflow was awesome, and I agree. I saw that and was just wowed by it myself.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So, I think, can you see my screen, everyone?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so here I am at Aero, and I'm just going to log in. And while I do that, I'll show you that when you log into Aero, just a very quick overview. If you're doing work, there are several items here on the navigation menu about activities that are assigned to you, things that belong to the person who's logged in. And then managers have a bunch of things they can do over here. And then we'll go look at the library in a minute. So that was my very top level overview of the navigation. There's also a little quick link here. If you just click the Aero logo, you'll go right to your list of activity that's been assigned to you by the firm that's waiting to be done. So quick overview, which I think you guys have already laid out. As a firm, you want to be very intentional and proactive about what your firm does, what services you sell, and define those, as you were showing, like step by step. How do you want things done in your firm so that you're really empowering your staff? Your staff, you probably hired them, they're certified and they're good people. They don't want to mess up, and they, number one, like to feel this autonomy to be able to just get their work done. They just want to know what's assigned to them and what the expectation is so that they can meet it. So you spell that out as a firm, and then people come and get work done. Okay, that's the very simple overview. So I'm going to take you through that. Now, once you've defined everything, Aero is an example of an app that can organize that for you, right? It holds the information, it's interactive and lets you get the work done. And then it's also the place where you can track the metrics on how you're doing, you know, whether it be, as Liz was mentioning, whether you're tracking time, maybe you need the time to push to QuickBooks. We do integrate with QuickBooks, and then you can go create an invoice for a customer, and the drawer is going to pop out on the invoice in QuickBooks Online and let you pull in all those time activities right onto an invoice and send it to your customer. Or maybe your fixed fee. We went fixed fee in 2011, so we're not pulling that time onto invoices for the most part. Sometimes we do projects here and there that do involve that, but we're tracking time because we are mostly wanting to know what our resources are, what our available resources are. Do we need more clients? Do we need more staff? So we're often wanting to know things like, what's the average amount of time that we spend on AP overall, or on AP for this particular client? And we get good information off of knowing that. And so time is a factor in the world. And then you can just use it or forget about the time that's being tracked in Aero based on the culture in your firm. You don't have to pay attention to it. So I want to take you real quick first to one of our users' favorite parts about Aero is the library, and there are really two pieces here. First, I'll just take you to the procedures. So the Aero library is a resource of pre-built procedure guides and checklists for some of the apps and processes that many of us do using some of these popular apps like QuickBooks Online. So I just searched for one to show you. This is an example of a procedure called troubleshooting open items when you're reconciling a bank or credit card account in QuickBooks Online. Okay, that's not what the title reads, but that was my longer version description of it. So notice that these procedure guides are not, this is not just taking QBO Cert content PDF and just spilling it out here and passing that humongous PDF that's in like 12 modules to your staff and going, here, I told you what to do. No, you didn't. You just overwhelmed them with too much information. These are little bits that when they get stuck on something, they can come here and find the process that the firm has defined for what we do when we need to do this thing, right? So, so in this case, you go to do a bank rec, and one of the first things you do, and I'll show you this on the checklist, is you see whether the opening balance matches last month's ending balance. If it doesn't, here's your procedure, right? So it's a smaller piece. So that's one thing about a procedure guide, I'd say, when you're writing them up, is to make them bite-sized. You can also add print screens and things like that that you wouldn't find on a checklist. So next, I'm going to go show you. And notice this about the library. Any Aero users have access to this full library. All of the QuickBooks Online and any of the kind of free content we could find in the world, we've been putting into the library for all Aero users. If you want to pay up for the premium version of the library, you also get additional apps that we have that are written by our Aero library authors who are kind of experts in those different apps. So the library is here, so you don't have to write up all this stuff that I'm showing you. I'm showing you ones that are in the library already. Okay, so now I'll go look for, like, here's a QBO reconciliation. Let's just first view this. You can look in the library. So this is the checklist, right? We just looked at the procedure guide. This is the checklist. And you know, when you're reconciling a bank account in QuickBooks Online, one of the steps you'll get to is to make sure that the bank accounts are reconciled. So right there, it would lead you into a procedure guide. You would put a link to the procedure guide for that one step, right? So you see how these are interacting with each other. So let's take one of these. I just clicked view because I'm in the library and I'm the firm and I'm looking to view that checklist to see if I want it. My choices here are I could make it recurring because we're going to do this thing a lot of times, or I could make it a one-time activity and assign it to someone, or I can clone it. When I clone it, I'm changing it and because there's something about that I want to do for my firm that's a little bit special. So I'm actually going to go to this one down here. They're very similar. The one up top that I was just showing you is one that also involves a close. Some people do reconcile and close all at once. Some people have reconcile out separate from the full close process and do a more formal close. So I'm going to take this one. Let's just add one, and then we'll go look at what it looks like when your staff perform it. So I'm just going to assign this to, I'm in a demo account. I'm logged in as Robert, and you know, there are a lot of fields here. You can track all kind of data, what you want, but at least I want to assign it to Robert and say what client I'm doing it for, right? So let's pick like, hey, cool new firm. That's a good client. And the steps are already written for you, right? They're already linked to procedure guides. So all I did was go to the library, find one I wanted and assign it. So now I can go to my list, and here I'm going to see this new task that's been assigned to me. Okay, so let me for a minute just quickly recap that we looked at really fast example of defining your workflow through a procedure guide and a checklist. So now we get into organizing that defined knowledge capital, because your knowledge capital is what you want to capture here, and then this is what you're going to, this is your revenue. This is how you're going to make revenue as a firm. So you really want to capture that knowledge capital, harness it, and then you organize it in a way that you can use it effectively. So here we are. We've got a task list. Again, I'm Robert in this demo account. I'm the one logged in. I'm not seeing what Lucy and everyone else has to do today. I'm just looking at what tasks are assigned to me. And I can see different tasks. I have different, some of them are critical, right? I might want to pay attention to that one. I have email. This arrow links to Office 365 and Gmail, so my email can come in. It won't spam you with all email here in your task list. Only emails that come from someone who your firm is set up as like a client or partner or something are going to come in here. So I'm just going to click on this one that we just assigned from the library to show you what it looks like, because it's a different view now, right? Before we were looking in the library in kind of the view mode of someone that was going to sign the work. Now I'm the person performing the work, and I have check boxes. I get to work. And notice when I started and I clicked on that task on my list, I'm basically accepting the assignment as the staff person. Notice down here in the bottom right corner, I've got my timer going. Again, this is what I meant by use it or ignore it, whatever fits your firm's culture. If you're not tracking time, it's just going to run anyway. When we have staff start at our accounting firm, the first thing they do is get Aero certified. We have 2 certification levels for everyone who's going to use Aero. So they learned how to use this right away. And then in Aero is assigned all their other training activity. But I always tell them right from the get-go, this is not a race. We're not here to do things quickly and poorly. We are here to do things very well. We're all professionals, and this is just tracking for information. So you go through your checklist, you start doing this work, arrows up in one window, and you're jumping around to QuickBooks or whatever this checklist is telling you to do. Here's what Liz was calling out earlier. You can have links here to things like, let's say you get stuck on how to navigate to the reconcile screen. Or let's say what I just pointed out earlier, you're doing step 3, which is verify the beginning balance on the account, and you get stuck there. They don't match. Well, what do I do? That's advanced. That's covering advanced QBO cert. So here is just the procedure guide on what to do in that case, right? We're not giving them too much information like everything about QuickBooks here. We're going right to what they needed. So you're really putting resources at their fingertips. And then they can try all that and continue their checklist. Now, if they get interrupted and have to go to the dentist, someone else can take over because they know right where they left off, or that person can come back end of the day or tomorrow or whenever and start up again on this checklist. Because you can interrupt a checklist here and just save your time and defer this for later, or you go through the whole thing and finish it. I want to call out a couple other things here. As I was clicking through the checklist, notice that the step is copying itself down here to your time notes. This does push time tracking entry into QuickBooks Online, or, I mean, we have firms who are all zero-based. Their firm is on Xero, you know, or some other, whatever different, and they're, for whatever reason, they don't want to push the time entry into QuickBooks. You don't have to, but you can always go back and look at what was being done during that time by your staff, and your staff can add special notes here if they have something else to say as they go along. This checking off and copying to the time notes is just being helpful to show everyone. So your management can come in and see, what was Josie doing last week, for crying out loud? Well, here it is. These over here are different internal comments that will stay with this task all throughout the activity of the task. I can go into that more later if we want. Anyway, at the bottom, I want to call out, we've got more information at your fingertips. One of the favorite ones is the vault. I'll just call that out real quick. I'm trying to watch time here. The vault is where you can store. The vault is showing, we're seeing the vault for your client called Cool New Firm. Whatever client this task was assigned to is whose vault we'll see when we're in here doing a task on this client. And so you can put usernames for, you know, username and passwords for certain websites. Maybe you have to go, like, maybe you run payroll and you have to then jump over to this company's 401k site and upload the detail of what the 401k deductions had been. And, you know, that's not a website you have memorized. So all of that would be right here at your fingertips. You could just launch it. Someone may have even put it up here as a link on the step. You might have tax ID numbers in here, capitalization thresholds, whatever information you and your firm want to put in the vault, you can. The vault has secured value. This is encrypted field. So even if you export this out of Aero, this data is not going to be seen. So these are secure fields. Also, every row has a different security level. If you want, say, your intern staff to be able to see something, call everything security level 1. If you want only upper staffers to be able to see a row, call it one of the higher security levels. If someone in a lower security level is working in this vault, they won't even see this, that there's a row there for this upper security level. So when I finish doing my work, I'm gonna, in this case, I'll save and defer. I can defer it to a different day. I can give it to someone else and say, I'm done with my part. Let's give the rest of this to Lucy, right? I'm gonna keep it on mine and defer it and show you that right back out on my list. Oh, I could have put a note. I went too fast. I could have put a note there about why I deferred it. So this task is not completed and it's still out here on my list for me to do. And it is showing status deferred. So now management, if I jump over here to manage arrows, the firm can come watch all of the activity assigned to all of the different staff. Lucy, Nesta, Robert, here's my work, right? And they can see this one is deferred now. In fact, when I click into one, it goes into the status in progress. So the firm could be over here on this screen watching. They could come up here and filter and say, just show me the tasks in progress. And they could actually just sit here and watch what everyone's working on. That's really good oversight, bird's eye view of the activity in your firm. So any questions now? I'm trying to watch my time and talk quickly, but cover as much as I can.
Yeah, great demo. So we do have a couple of questions, and we've got one question about T-sheets and Aero. How do they work together?
Right, so you can have the time tracking entries pushed to T-sheets because a couple of reasons. You may want to use T-sheets to use their approval process, right? Aero is not trying to be a time tracking app. We have not built out management approvers or things like that, or schedules and things like that. So some people want to push the time tracking entries to T-sheets. Another reason would be if you're trying to push it onto QuickBooks Desktop, then you would push your time tracking entries into T-sheets, and from T-sheets you can go to QuickBooks Desktop because Aero integrates the time tracking entries to QuickBooks Online, but we're not integrating to QuickBooks Desktop.
And then there was another question that I think I answered, but I'm going to go ahead and just ask it out loud. So Michael had a question about the Vault and Lisio. His question was asking, is there a way for those two to talk to each other? And I said, I think that would be a security issue, but I thought I would ask out loud.
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. It does seem like a security issue, but I guess I'd have to learn a little bit more about it. Certainly the encrypted field, which is the information you'd probably want, is probably not going to go anywhere, not securely.
And then, you know, the other thing that I always think is really, really cool is how you pass an arrow. So do you want to show how you can open up an arrow and then pass it to another employee?
Yes. So I will go to, let's say, the one we were on, and then I just am going to come. Well, so first I'm going to do it as if I were working on it, right? And let me show you quickly. This was one we worked on. Let me come down to the time. Now the time entry, these were the minutes that we worked on this one, time entry showing. So I'm working on this and I want to pass it to someone else. The task is not completed, so I'm not going to complete it. I'm going to defer it. And when I do that, I get this field and I can change it. So let's give it to Lucy. And then I click defer, and the task is now no longer on my list. Now, if I go jump over here as the manager or the firm admin, and I come look at work that's due today for Lucy, I'm going to see that it's sitting right here. It's still deferred. As the manager, I can click on it. Now I'm in edit mode, right? Edit mode does not have checkboxes. There's no timer running. Edit mode lets me change things about this that I want to change. I might say, oh, Robert gave it to Lucy, but he was supposed to give it to Shelley, so I'm going to come. So just wanted to show you a few ways of deferring things and passing them to someone else. Can I also quickly show you a little bit of email integration?
Oh my gosh, yes, please.
I'll just quickly show you a task here. When I click into this task, this was an email I received. That HTML just, you may have seen that very quickly, just resolved itself into the version, because some people have graphics and whatnot. All of that will show here. So here is a client saying, hey, when you do that thing this month, can you also do this other thing, right? So you've gotten an email. Aero knows what client sent it, so they know what company it is. And so you can reply to them. You can create a related task, because now you need to do something, like maybe you want to go create a proposal for them. So, or maybe you're just reading it, and that's just a really interesting topic we could talk about, because the fact that we get email into our email boxes, even if we read it and don't do anything, that's work, and it never gets captured. And you go back and you look, how much effort do I put on this client? How much is my whole team putting on this client? Even reading their emails counts as effort. So whatever time I'm posted here, say I save and complete it, say I don't even answer them, then I've marked time on it. So I can always, as a firm, go back and look at all the time we spent on clients and what we were doing. And furthermore, let's say I had hit reply and sent them an email back. I can jump up, so that was using a Gmail integration. I can jump over to Gmail then and look in my sent email, and it will be sent, it will show there in Gmail.
That's great. And then I just was answering a question. Somebody was asking, how difficult is it to share, to set up?
Yeah, and I would say exactly, do the most common first. Definitely bring in your team to help, if not create the checklist from the get-go, then improve them, have people spot check, just like you said, because you know, it's in my head and I think this is what I do, and someone else goes to perform the same checklist. They're like, you just left out like 5 steps between those two. So they go fill it in. But yeah, I would say start, like when we first created the, you know, like our tasks working the bank feed. The task originally years ago said work the bank feed, and you would go in there and there was one step. And the step was work the bank feed, because we just had to get it all into Aero and set up all the recurring instances over time. And so I would just say start, you know, small, and then let it grow, and then have the person that does that work regularly, have them work on adding the steps that they do to it. Also, I would say anytime we had an error, something fell through the cracks, something that we go, oh my gosh, I wish we should do this from now on. Right then, our checklists will get updated there, because you know that feeling when you go, I don't ever want this mistake to happen again. And so we improve over time. A lot of our checklists are better because of mistakes we've made.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Well, so we want to do things because there's some people asking some questions and they're saying, okay, we're time. So Heather, can you go ahead and can you launch our poll?
Yeah, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then I'm also going to share out my screen to kind of go over some of the final slides about the certification. And I know we're over, and I apologize, everybody. And then some last couple of housekeeping things. And then if you want to hear about Liz's cool thing this week, you can stay on, and we will definitely demo that for those that want to stay on the webinar. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. If you guys want to go ahead and participate in that poll, and I will absolutely send along, if you answer yes, I'll send along your information to Laura and her team, and someone can reach out to you from Aero to help get you started and learn more about it. There's also on our website, if you go to the bar book on our website and you visit the Aero page, there's actually a discount code there for viewers that were on this webinar today. So you can save 10% on Aero. I think for 6 months, is that right, Laura?
I believe so.
Yeah, so you can check that out as well.
There's a white glove service too. Liz was saying how to get set up for any firms who have processes and want to get things sort of set up for them. We do have a white glove service that'll help you get set up.
That's awesome. All right. So you have the training too. You have the Aero certification, which helps you and the team to get to know Aero, right?
Yep.
Right, Laura?
All your users should take that so they know how to get in, get their assignments, and do their work. And then anyone who's going to be a manager and create activity and sign work and run the firm, it should do the next level certification, the admin. Those are our integrations.
Great.
Yes, that's the goal. Defined, consistent, scalable. And you know, you really can kind of think of Aero as like something, you start to feel Aero as like this tangible thing. Like if you're looking at retirement one day and how do I sell this firm, you've really now got your knowledge capital packaged here. It's like, oh, this is a thing. I could sell this.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree. I agree.
And then, so what's new in 2020? Can you quickly tell us a little bit about what's coming with Aero? I'm so excited. I'm definitely excited.
We've been working on this for over a year, and you know, sometimes things like QBO's new updated integration to Connect, or Google Chrome will put out something new, and then our dev team gets off having to work on that stuff, you know. But anyway, this is coming out now, and we're all excited about it. First of all is, I'll start from the bottom, navigation. You can see here, it's a screenshot of our new navigation coming out. Next is audit trail. All the work that you're doing, there will be an audit trail for when an Aero activity was, you know, first created and who worked on it when. Apart from the time that you're working on it, this is the audit trail of the activities. And then third and most exciting is Aero Advisor, and that's the ability for you as a firm to then create another Aero account for your clients. If any of you are getting into advisory work where you are helping companies determine what, you know, like app advisors, what app tech stack to use, and then training them and setting them up in QuickBooks Online, Bill.com, Expensify, whatever it is, and then you're going to get into the business of being the knowledge person and the advisor, but maybe their staff can do some of those tasks, especially as these tasks get automated and you're trying to move your firm into the advisory role so that you're, you know, some of the tasks that you do that are getting automated, you know, if you want to have more revenue coming in from the advisor role, then you can give that company an Aero account and push your procedure guides and checklists through to their account. Your Aero account that you create for them will be white labeled with your firm. So they'll just know, I have to log into my accounting firm's app so that I get on my checklist. They know everything. And so then when something gets updated, you can update the checklist that push through to them, and then they're doing things properly, especially when we're talking about people who are doing things like warehouse work that's very specific and is related to QuickBooks, but it's harder for you to do outsource. It needs to be done by somebody on site, and you really can pass on the bossiness to them. This is how things are done here. So that's Aero Advisor coming out, and you'll have the ability, like I said, to white label it, and there's a wholesale billing plan. So you can pay for it and then pass all that on to your client through your advisory engagement with them.
Well, and it's kind of like we're all adults who want to get our work done, and it really doesn't matter in this industry when you get your work done. Just if it's documented, you are empowering your team.
Yeah. And who doesn't want to pass that down and just charge for the advisory for being the knowledge master?
Of course.
Yeah. So this is just an example of what I was saying earlier, where you start to think of Aero as the brain of the firm, and then it has the checklist and all the processes for whatever different apps you use in your firm's ecosystem.
Fantastic.
Lovely.
Awesome.
Okay.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Laura. This was absolutely amazing.
Can I still watch Liz's?
Oh, of course, of course.
Well, then, Heather, I'm going to let you just
I'm going to go through the kind of end slides, and we're going to go back and do the coolest things. Does that work?
Thank you. Yes.
All right. So first of all, thank you, Laura. This was amazing. I'm excited to dig in to Aero a little bit more as well, especially for my new firm. So looks amazing. So you guys can find all of our episodes. We have a brand new website. If you haven't checked it out, you should. We have an amazing webmaster. His name is Daniel, and he is super duper talented, and we could not be happier with the art and the what he's done for us. So hopefully Daniel's listening out there somewhere. Thank you. And if anybody needs a really amazing web designer and person, let us know, because we would happily share his information with you. So you can connect with us, you can connect with our sponsors, you can find the drink recipes and read our blog posts about the different technologies that we're highlighting on Appy Hour. And of course, just reach out to us and send us a message as well.